Well, y'all saw me start off yesterday morning around the bark beds. Spent the rest of the afternoon around back in the greenhouse. There was a lot of things that I needed to get planted in the ground and a lot of things that I needed to get up potted. A lot of things I needed to get fertilized, just some routine maintenance around back. But today is our schoolroom day. So we are winding down June. We will start school back in just a couple of weeks, which means my closet that gets kind of ransacked through the year has to be completely reorganized. Each kid has a little pencil cubby with crayons and markers at the end of the day because somebody will knock that off through the day and then we've got a big mess. So each person has a cubby for their books, and throughout the year, it just gets ransacked. Also come through and touch up paint in the room. Other things, we need to go through toys. I need to reorganize puzzles. So just like I set aside time when we get done with school to go through all of the rest of the house and try to declutter, change over our closets and things like that. Right before we start school back is the time where I come in and just spend a lot of time in this room. I have spent time in the past decorating. You see banners going across the top of our schoolroom. I also like to do things like change out posters, just kind of give them some new scenery. It's good for them and it's good for me. I don't want it to be totally boring. I do get a little bit excited about the school year because it's kind of like a fresh start. You know, we've had a good long break. I will say usually by the end of the school year, come March to April, we are all ready to be done. But we're going to go ahead and kick off probably the last week or maybe even the week before that, depending on how soon I can get our books here. I have not even put our books up from last year. So those are going to be some of the things that I'm working on today. I need to get our school books up from last year. I just need to come through. If you look behind me right there, I don't know if y'all can see that, but on that wall, I have some little helpers that like to use markers where they're not supposed to go. So I just kind of come in and prep for the school year, get back reorganized, throw toys away, declutter. Y'all see my baskets back here. They're just crammed with all kinds of junk. We collect junk over the year. So I'll come back through, reorganize my basket. Through the year in the summer, things also get unorganized. These are all of our puzzles. So I'll put all of our puzzle pieces back together so that when I need to entertain the little ones, I can pull those puzzles out or whatever activity I'm wanting to do for that day to entertain my little ones. That typically is how we run our mornings. When we come in the schoolroom, I will work with Livy and Jennings for just a little while, pretty much just entertain her. Jennings gets about 15 minutes of the basics. We go over letters, numbers, colors, shapes, sounds. He will be doing K4 this year, so drilling sounds and letters is really what I'm going to be focusing on this year with him. Then I shift my attention to what I have done in the past. I have had each kid do a different subject while I help one-on-one with the smaller kids who can't read. We have also done everybody does the same subject together, and then I just walk around and help individual students. I personally like best for each student to be doing a different subject. It just seems to flow a little bit better to me. When I have my older ones doing math, I can help my younger ones with their reading, teaching cursive writing skills and things like that. And then we swap. I have my older ones doing their language stuff. I can kind of stand over them and help teach them their new lesson for the day, while my younger ones are doing some of their basic math things. A lot of times with the math, it just doesn't take very long because I can introduce them to their new concept as long as I know they have the new concept, whether it's adding something, adding higher numbers, or whether it's learning something new in multiplication. I can sit them down and let them work on that skill while I'm able to go to my other children and help them Having multiple students on multiple grade levels is a bit challenging. Sometimes I feel like I'm stretched thin, and that's just part of it right now. Aiden will be a senior actually when I start Livy in kindergarten. So it's gonna be a long time before there's a break for me. Honestly, I'm just trying to make the best of it because my years with Aiden's going into 10th grade. My years with Aiden is really dwindling down, and it is really sad for me because I still sometimes look at him and picture him being the 2-year-old. He was the 2-year-old running around with bright blonde hair, just active and getting into everything. And then I literally feel like I blink, and I know all you mamas can relate to that. I literally felt like I blinked, and now he's driving and going into his 2nd year of high school. And it's really bittersweet because I do love the fact that I have been blessed to have a healthy 15-year-old for all of these years, but that it is really bitter because I know that I only have a couple more years left with him before he is grown and gone. And that is a little bit hard for mamas, I think, to swallow, especially with their first, maybe, and their last, because it's just such changes in both. I've never went through the steps of just letting that child go, so that will be a process for me to work through over the next few years. And then of course when it's your last one, it's just difficult because it's your last one, which I don't know. Some parents party when it's their last one. I don't know how I will feel by the time Livy comes along and she's the 6th one. I don't know, we'll see. I have a feeling I am going to be a little upset about it because I do love my kids being home with me. It is fun most days, even though there are some challenges in between. Jennings really likes to play in the toilet, and Livy really likes to tear up her closet. So they're all different, and they all have these little quirks about them that is funny, and all of their personalities are just so different. So it's challenging on some days, but it really is fun, and it's so unique to be able to be home with them. So I hope one day that they can look back and say, Mama tried. That I might not have loved school, but she did make it somewhat enjoyable. The classroom was comfortable. We studied our materials. We learned what we needed to learn. Now, before I go any further, I want to share with y'all what we have done in the past and what we're doing now as far as homeschool curriculum goes. Then I've got to jump in and get started so I can get this room under control before we start school in a couple of weeks. So what we have done before in the past is Abeka. I spent many years, I believe it was 8 or 9 years, teaching Aiden Abeka. Harley and Eliza got a lot of Abeka. Sayla, not so much. Jennings is just really starting off in K4. So I spent the majority of the time using Abeka. Now, without trying to go into too many details, we did change because I had a year where I needed Harley to repeat the grade. I had started her on DVDs. She did not do well with DVDs. I needed her to repeat that grade. When I contacted the company, they wanted me to ship the DVDs back to them, and I just could not understand for the life of me. I already have the DVDs. I just want to pay my tuition. Why do I have to send all of this stuff back? Lo and behold, their policies made me ship all my stuff back, and lo and behold, they sent me all new DVDs, which absolutely nothing matched my teacher books, her student books, and of course we were going to have to buy student workbooks anyway for her to repeat the grade. They did not seem to show any interest in caring about my situation, and I was basically told, it does not matter that you sent back old videos and we have shipped you back new. Our material was upgraded, and the only way you're going to be able to successfully have everything match up is if you upgrade your material, and that's going to cost you an additional $1,000. So needless to say, I was not very happy about that because I already had the DVDs. Only thing I needed was the workbooks for her to repeat the grade. And customer service was absolutely terrible. Now, for that just being 1 year, I could have got over it and dealt with it. But the problem was this. I had Aiden, Harley, and Eliza all on DVDs. With the two girls, they're only a grade different apart. Harley, Aiden and Harley both did kindergarten when they were 4. So she was actually 2 years above Eliza. This would have put her back 1 year above Eliza. And I knew that because Abeka continues to upgrade their materials so frequently that I was going to be paying for a brand new set of material for Harley for it to only change the next year, and everything that I would have had would have been garbage. So I just could not see doing that again and making that same mistake with them. So then we decided to look around, and I ended up going with a company called Gather Round. I really like the Gather Round books. However, I don't think that they are wonderful for your K4, 5, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. Up until they can start reading really well. I'm just giving y'all my honest opinion. The language is it's not a lot of language. The concepts that these children need, especially when they're learning to read, is repetition, repetition, repetition. And you definitely get that with Abeka. Learning your phonics sounds, really drilling those things in, and I just don't feel like the phonics base part is really put into that program. It very wonderful for science, very wonderful history. I kind of figured that out after the first year. The books are wonderful as far as the pictures are great, the material is great, the presentation is great, a lot of the information is wonderful. So this is what I did. There's no math included. So I added a math. The very next year after I quit using Abeka, I used Bob Jones. I did not like Bob Jones. It did not fit well for our family. So the next year we swapped to Saxon Math. After Abeka, we had a year of Bob Jones and a year of Gather Round. So I kind of learned what I needed to do from there. We did not like Bob Jones. We switched to Saxon. This past year was all Saxon Math, and it was wonderful. We really liked Saxon Math. It fit well for our family. But I needed to tackle this language arts issue. So what I did is went to christianbooks.com and I bought Abeka language books for each one of my students on their grade level. So what we did is we would get up in the mornings, we would do our Bible time, then each kid would break off into their different sections. Because Saxon Math for my older 3 was on a streaming service, one of the kids would take the computer, do all of their math, pass the computer on to the next one. So while one was working on math, one was working on spelling words, one was working on language arts, another one was doing reading or something else. I have to be more hands-on with my smaller ones. That's just the stage that we're in right now. Then I would go back to my older ones, help them where they needed them, and double check their work, give tests where we needed tests as well. This year is even going to look a little bit more different than even last year because I need Aiden to move on to class Algebra 2, which I'm done with my algebra days and I don't love math, so I'm not going to be teaching him that. So he will be moving on to his certain classes. I'm not exactly sure what companies we're going to use. He also needs a foreign language in there, so I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to set him up yet, but he will basically be doing most of his things online or through companies that I know is trusted and there's no indoctrination in there. That's the type of route we're going to take with Aiden. All of the rest of the kids we will be doing after Bible, we're going to be doing Gather Round together, and that is where I'll take a lesson from their book. We will study through it, read over it. They have their own workbooks that they will complete that matches what I've taught. Then each student will dive into either math, spelling words, or their language books that I do use through Abeka. Now, I will continue to use the phonics program with Abeka for Selah and Jennings. They will be my next 2 going through that program. I really like the Abeka phonics. I know that children will struggle if they do not have a strong phonics background. They will struggle everywhere else with even something as simple as just reading instructions. So that's what our school year is going to look like. It has looked like, and it looks like now. I've name dropped a bunch of companies for anybody that is interested in kind of what our homeschooling days look like. I also try to tie in different things like documentaries, YouTube videos. You know, no matter if it's something history related or science related, I have a couple of DVDs that are geared more towards phonics and Abeka, that sometimes I will just say, you know what, guys, we're going to sit down and we're going to watch these today. ABC Mouse does have free songs on YouTube that were very, very wonderful. All of my girls learned all of their ABCs by just watching that because the songs are so cute and catchy. Jennings was not a huge fan, to be completely honest with you. He didn't really like it. And we're still working on some letters. So that just goes to show you they're all really different, utilized many different resources. When we were studying space, there were lots and lots of wonderful, informative documentaries out there that were very interesting. So during lunch, when I would be fixing lunch, I would have the kids in there on the couch and we would be watching videos or documentaries that would tie into our lessons. Really, the beauty of homeschooling is incorporating learning wherever you are, whether it's in the classroom or in the kitchen or in the garden. These kids can be learning skills, not only academically, but they can be learning skills, everyday skills as well. And that is the beauty of being able to be home with them. I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity to be home with them. I did make what at the time felt like sacrifice whenever I decided to quit my full-time nurse job as a nurse. I worked on a very stressful, high-paced floor, but I did make good money, and we decided to give all of that up so that I could be home. I could raise my children. I could train my children within the home, because that's what we felt like that God was putting on our heart and calling us to do. And more importantly than money is being obedient. So we knew that that was a calling on our lives. Looking back many years ago, I would have never said that I was going to homeschool my children, but it just goes to show you how God changes our views and our perspectives as He changes our heart. I do know without a shadow of a doubt, because we were obedient in the calling at that time, that God has always provided. He provided far more abundantly than we could ever even possibly begin to give Him credit for or be thankful for. And we are indeed very thankful. But let's get started cleaning up this room. So I will be replacing those. I've gotten all the books out of the desk. Now these will be divided up into students. I put every student's work that we have done. They have their own individual spots in the attic, just in case anybody was to ever say, let me see your student's work. I have all of their work. These are all of the textbooks that we have through the year. I also keep all of those as well. I have a chest in my room where I keep all of those books. Now this was 4th grade book. Harley's 5th grade book, of course, will get passed down to Eliza, so I kept those things out. All of the rest of this will get walked up to the attic, but for now, the schoolroom is done. We're going to get these books put up. We're going to get Sayla's desk repainted, and I've got to replace some knobs for the desk. We're going to order some headphones and some books tomorrow, and we will be ready for the next school year. Now I'm off to make one of our very favorite meals, tacos, and I'm going to be trying my hand at making homemade taco shells, so y'all cross your fingers for me, and let's hope that they turn out okay, because I've never made homemade taco shells, hard shells from scratch. So we'll see how that goes, and until next time, happy homesteading, y'all.